Alright, my lovely, so here's the second part of lesson 25.2. You guys are doing great. I'm very proud of you. So this is the second your turn question. Yesterday I did the video on the first your turn. Today's the second your turn. Okay, so this one's gonna take a while. Of course, we gotta read the question first. It says a farmer's market is set up as a quadrilateral. Just so you know, quadrilateral means shape with four sides, right? That means it could be like a square, a rectangle, a parallelogram, trapezoid, so many different shapes with four sides, right? It could be a kite. And it's bounded by four streets shown in the table. Classify the quadrilateral bounded by the streets. So here's the name of the roads, and here's the equation, right? So as you can tell, these equations are in different forms, right? And, let's see if you remember something from first semester. What is that form called? Ooh, did I hear standard form? I just really love it when you give me all the wrong answers and then eventually you get to the correct answer, right? We had fun in sixth period. That was a lot of fun. Anyhow, this is called standard form. Standard form looks like ax plus by equals c, right? And then these, we don't have names for those kind of forms, but if you look at the very bottom one, you can see that it's the same kind as the top one. It's called the standard form. So, when everything is in different formats, it's very difficult for us to, figure out the pattern in anything, right? So we want to make sure that everything is in the same form. So you know what I like? I like the slope-intercept form. Okay? And for those of you who remember, that's y equals mx plus b. We call it slope-intercept because we have the slope here and then the y-intercept, okay? So let's go ahead and change all these four equations into slope-intercept form. Just keep in mind that when we talk about switching over to slope-intercept form, we need to have the y by itself and then we need the slope times x plus the y-intercept, okay? So that's what we're talking about. Of course, I'm going to erase everything here. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and number the four equations because it just helps me organize. Yes, I can write down the names of the roads, but it takes too long. So here's my first equation, negative 2x plus 3y equals 13. That was for Taft Road. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and change it to slope-intercept form, which means I got to leave the y by itself. So obviously, if you try and remember from first semester, we remembered multiplication, they're stickier, right? Addition or subtraction is easier to separate them. So we're going to go ahead and separate the negative 2x first from the 3y, and we'll deal with the 3 later on, okay? So how are we going to get rid of that? This is a negative 2x, so if we add 2x to both sides of the equal sign, here's the equal sign, we know that this would disappear. So then I'll be left with 3y, and that equals, and then we never say 13 plus 2x. Well, we could, but if you remember, the slope-intercept form looked like y equals mx plus b. So you know that the x comes first, okay, and then the b later. So we're going to go ahead and put the 2x first and then the plus 13 later on. But we know that we are not done yet because obviously our goal was to leave the y by itself, and the y is not by itself. It's still next to the 3. So let's now go ahead and get rid of the 3. The relationship between the 3 and the y is multiplication. So let's do the opposite of that. You're going to divide by 3. Now here's the most important thing. When you divide by 3, you gotta remember to multiply everything here by 3, not just, the 2x. Okay? So then they cancel out and it becomes y. Because, this is 1y, and you don't write the 1, right? And that equals 2 over 3x plus 13 over 3. We can't simplify 13 over 3 or 2 over 3, so we're just going to leave it like that, okay? So then we just went ahead and changed this equation, the first equation over here, into slope-intercept form. I'm going to go ahead and write number 1 here, and just write this down over here because I need to use the space on the right hand side for the next equation. So of course, erase, 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 erase. Let's move on to the second equation, which is 1 over 3y equals negative x minus 5. I don't think there's a name for this form over here, okay? But we have to finish this up. We're in the process of going from standard to slope-intercept form. And as usual, y has to be left by itself, but who is stuck next to the y? 1 over 3. Right now, we don't have any like plus whatevers here, so we don't have to worry about, getting rid of those first. We only have one thing next to the y, and that is 1 over 3. So we have to get rid of that. Now let's try and remember, how were we supposed to get rid of the 1 over 3? Well, whenever we have multiplication, we gotta go ahead and divide, but when there's fractions, it's tricky, blah, blah, blah. We talked about this. Most important thing is you multiply by the reciprocal. So if you multiply by 3 over 1, that pretty much helps it, right? So 1 over 3y equals, and then when you multiply by 3 over 1, that's the same as multiplying by 3. Please remember to do the same thing to every single one on the right hand side. So we're going to multiply 3 to the negative x, and you're going to multiply 3 to the negative 5, okay? Please keep that in mind, all right? So these cancel out. So 1 times 1, remember the dancey dance? Grab a number from the top, from the bottom, multiply sideways. So y is equal to 3 times negative x, 3 times negative 5. There you go. So that's my second equation in slope-intercept form, and I'm going to write that down right here. We have to move on to the third equation. And that's just like equation number 2. 3y equals 2x plus 2. I'm starting to go a little bit faster, as you can tell, because now hopefully everybody can remember, right? So what are we doing to both sides? Dividing by 3, right? But when we divide by 3, make sure we do it to everything on that side, right? So there you go. Y is equal to, because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then we can't simplify here, so 2 over 3x plus 2 over 3, and so that's my third equation. Let me write that down, and then now I'm ready for the fourth equation right here. There you go. So 3x plus y equals negative 14. Again, leave the y by itself. This one's way easier than the first one, huh? Because there's nothing next to the y. So we only have to get rid of the 3x. So we have to subtract 3x from both sides. Both sides of the equal sign, that is, right? So there you go. This goes away. Y equals, and then I told you to put the x first, negative 3x minus 14. And that's your fourth equation. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and list all the 4 equations over here on the right hand side, so it's very clear for you to see. I'm gonna write this here really fast because I don't want to forget. So there you go. Here's your first equation in slope-intercept form, and then your second equation in slope-intercept form, your third equation in slope-intercept form, and then your fourth equation in slope-intercept form. All right, now that we have listed our 4 equations, right, you can already see a pattern, but let's read the question again. A farmer's market is set up as a quadrilateral bounded by 4 streets. Okay, so we have 4 streets and each equation goes with the streets, right? So classify the quadrilateral bounded by the streets. Okay, just looking at this, because we already know that we're learning about perpendicular lines and whatnot, let's just take a look at the slopes over here. This is 2 over 3, this is negative 3, 2 over 3, and negative 3. What is the pattern that you notice? Okay, well, unlike the previous example that you had yesterday, we know that these are not opposite reciprocals, so they're not perpendicular to each other. Because you see, if you change the symbol for 2 over 3, it's going to be negative, and if you flip it find the reciprocal of that, is going to be 3 over 2. So if you want to say that they are all perpendicular to each other, this slope over here should be negative 3 over 2, right? So we know for sure this is not a square or a rectangle, anything that has 90-degree angles on 4 corners, right? But what else do you notice? Ha! The 2 over 3, these two are the same. And then these two are the same, negative 3 and negative 3. You know what that means? Remember, same slope are what kind of lines? Yes, they're parallel lines, okay? So we basically have two lines going this way with slope 2 over 3, and then we have another two set of parallel lines that go that way with the slope negative 3, right? So then if we have two opposite sides that have parallel lines, what are they called? Yeah, they're called parallelograms, right? So what are the 4 streets? What kind of shape are those 4 streets making? Yup, it's a parallelogram. We know it's not a rhombus because it needs to have 4 equal lengths. And not a rectangle because they're not 90-degree angles, right? So there you go. And so if you want to check your answer, go ahead and do that. And of course, it's correct. Now we are done with 25.2. So I know that you really want to know which questions you have to work on to pass the test, right? Because you worked so hard to bring your grades up. So let's see what it is you need to do. I want you to start with question number, wait a minute. I think yesterday I told you. So I want you to work on 2. Here's question number 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's good enough, okay? 2, 3, 4, 5. So please make sure you work on question number 2 all the way through 4, okay? To study for your upcoming test. All right, so happy learning. I'll see you tomorrow.